Sands Valley Elementary School with our friends from the OSU After School Program. I'm Garrett.
I'm Janice. I'm Melissa.
I'm Chloe. I'm Sophia. I'm Betty. I'm Brayden.
And we're here to share some ideas for how you can make your physical education experience fun, safe, and culturally responsive.
Physical education is a vital part of students' learning. Although competition is healthy, it is also important to build empathy, self-esteem, and equity into your lessons and games. Having fun and being active and teamwork should be the focus. Making sure that it is not only about participating, but just participating as the best that you can. Not everyone will be good at everything. As an educator, we will need to be culturally relevant and start with our students' strengths and work from there. Being mindful that abilities or lack of them will also be necessary to modify your lessons.
At the beginning of each school year, make sure you set some ground rules for your class. At your first meeting, set those rules. You may choose to present them as rights instead of rules. Ask the students to contribute thoughts about what might make their experience fun and safe. Be prepared for serious and silly answers. And have the rights or rules clearly posted in your gym or PE space for all students to see and return to.
Whether giving instructions for a warm-up or a game, make sure that your instructions are specific and understood. Make sure that students have a chance to ask questions. This will help eliminate some frustrations during a time of play. One technique to help students understand what they're hearing is to have them revoice what they think they heard you say, or perhaps to turn to a partner and explain the instructions as they understand them. If there are still questions, make sure you take the time to answer each question. Another technique is to have a focus statement before each activity. For example, we're going to start with an activity today that is a team-building activity that allows us to participate together in building something wonderful. It is fun and helpful to start each class with a team-building activity that promotes community and empathy. Team-building activities have students work together to accomplish a common purpose, i.e. to cross a lava pit or to solve a problem. If you have a large group of students, you might want to consider dividing them into two different groups and assigning each student a role. For instance, the doctor, the hand holder, the builder, etc. As this next activity shows, you can get a group of students working together in a fun, creative way. The first activity we're going to do today is a team-building activity. It's called making a machine. And the purpose is that we have to all work together to make an awesome machine. Now, it doesn't matter what the machine is. We'll figure out what that is when we're done. But I'm going to need everyone to volunteer. And this is how it works. I'm going to start, and I'm going to make a motion, some kind of motion, and a sound. Beep, 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 beep. I'm going to continue to do that. And then the next person has to jump in and join my machine and make a motion and a sound. Does everyone understand the instructions? Any questions? Yes, you do? Yeah. Okay. So Janice will jump in first as my second volunteer and show you, give you an example. And then one by one, when you have an idea, I need you to jump in and we'll figure out what our machine is when we're done. Okay? So here we go. Beep, 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 beep. Don't look behind either. Beep, 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 beep.
Making machine is a fun activity. In your instructions, you may want to tell the students that they do not need to line up in any particular order. They can work at the side of you, at your feet, behind you, or in front of you. Make sure you take a few moments after building your machine to process with the children what the machine might be or do. You'll get some creative answers. And one thing I did not do is congratulate them for working together. Let them know each part of the machine is important for its function.
Stretching our bodies and centering our brains is an important part of any physical activity experience. But warm-ups don't have to be boring. For example, you could do the washing game and have students go through these washing movements to make it fun and interesting. Now let's watch a video of how this could look in your classroom. Okay guys, now we're going to do some warm-ups that get your body moving, get you stretched out, and ready to play the games. That way we're playing safe and no one gets hurt. Alright, so first let's do the washing game. This is where we stretch our muscles and pretend like we're washing our clothes. Let's start by washing our trousers, our pants. Washing our pants, stretching the legs out. Okay, good. And now let's wash our shirts. We've got our shirts on. Let's wash our shirts. Okay, stretch your legs out wide like this, baby. Washing our shirts. Now let's wash our shorts. Okay? So wash our shorts, maybe. Like that. Wash our shorts. Oh man, good. Now let's stand up. Stand on our feet. Okay, now we're going to wash our dress. Wash our dress. Wash our dress. Oh, very good. Now we're stretched out and ready to do the game. This is just one of many warm-up activities that can be done with students. Another idea is the late for school game, where you have students go through the motions of getting ready for school when they realize, oh shoot, I'm late for school. So they get their clothes on, they eat their breakfast, brush their teeth. All these activities can be done to warm up their bodies, get them stretched out, and ready to play the games. Doing these games is another way of learning the students' rituals, and this helps us learn more about our students and where they come from.
Let's recap warm-ups. Feel free to ask students to contribute in any way they can to whatever warm-up you are doing. Plan a way to modify these warm-ups for children with disabilities. Make warm-ups imaginative and fun. Connect the experience to an activity they may be familiar with. Pretend they are washing clothes, they are making pizza, they are late for school, or they are cows and kittens.
There are many games that we can play that promote self-esteem and empathy in our classroom. One of these is compliment tag. The students are encouraged to give compliments to other students to unfreeze them. So it's like your original tag where you tag people, and if you have a large group, you'll want to pick maybe more than one person to be the tagger. They go around tagging, and as they get to be unfrozen, another student has to come and pay them a compliment. This is one way to build self-esteem and empathy within your classroom. So here is a version of compliment tag in action. You guys all know how to play tag, right?
Yeah.
And when you get touched, you freeze, right? Wherever you're at? Okay. And a compliment, you all know what a compliment is?
Yes.
When you say something nice to someone or about them.
Yes.
So when you're frozen, the way you can get unfrozen is if a friend comes and touches you on the shoulder and pays you a compliment. So that's how you're going to get unfrozen. We are going to have Garrett be it. You guys are going to run around just on this half of the gym so that we have some room. And when you're frozen, then one of your friends will come up and pay you a compliment to unfreeze you. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
So you have any questions?
If you're standing here and somebody gives you a compliment and Garrett comes and tags you, would they be froze too?
Well, if he gets you guys both, you'll be unfrozen, but then when he tags you, you'll be frozen again. So then somebody else will have to come give you guys a compliment. Okay?
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
What's your question?
So are we doing the whole gym or just half the gym?
Just this half of the gym right down here. Okay? So, ready, go.
Man, that kicked my butt.
Man, that kicked my butt just watching it.
Let's recap Compliment Tag. Compliment Tag is an example of a game that requires children to interact in a friendly way. Promote fun and teamwork over competition. Remember to switch up taggers to allow different students to have the opportunity to play different roles. For a big class, you may have more than one tagger. Compliment Tag allows for free movement, developing strategy, second chances, and recognizing each other's strengths.
Physical education classes are a great place to introduce rituals and games from other cultures. Many of our games have Native American roots, for instance. Jacks, hopscotch, lacrosse, badminton, ice hockey, just to name a few, all were played before the white man came to America. So many of our many of our games today were played by Native Americans and have Native American roots. So be culturally responsive and add in some games from different cultures if you can.
It is important and fun to introduce multicultural games into your curriculum. Many familiar games have specific cultural origins. Share a little about the history of the origins and practice of the games you play. With prior approval, invite students to teach appropriate games that are part of their family tradition.
As teachers, we need to be especially aware of those students who are differently abled than other students. Oftentimes, we don't give students with disabilities enough credit for what they can do. But we need to be aware of our students, our class, and come prepared with options. If possible, we need to give disabled students a voice in the process to decide whether or not they would like to try and experience something. We need to come prepared with ways that we can modify games to help them be involved. We need to have strong behavioral management skills so that we can help avoid any meltdowns on the court. And we need to make sure that we have a safe environment for people of all abilities. That includes soft spaces, that includes easy accessibility, that may include bringing in specialists or aides to help with the process. Garrett will now give us some examples of ways that we can modify our activities for those with
In order
different
to make
abilities.
physical education a meaningful experience for students with autism, one idea might be to conduct the class in the music room if it's available. The walls in this room are usually padded so that the sounds don't echo too much. You could also do your PE classes outside when the weather permits, so that loud noises aren't a factor. For students with varying degrees of ability or students who are physically disabled, lesson plans can be modified to meet their needs. It's important to first ask the students what they feel capable of doing. For example, if you're planning on having your students play a game of tag, and you have a student who uses a wheelchair, you might find out that while they don't feel like they're capable of moving fast enough to be the student getting tagged, they do feel like they can be the tagger. You could then decide to assign them as one of the permanent taggers. It's important that every student in your classroom is aware of the needs of your students with disabilities in order to create an inclusive community of learners. It's been our experience that when people discriminate against people from other cultures, it's, in this case, students who are physically and developmentally disabled, it's because they lack understanding. If we as teachers can promote mutual understanding of these students' diverse needs and strengths, we can have inclusive and equitable physical education experiences.
Let's review some ways that we can be inviting to all of our students. Be aware of your students. Plan ahead. Have a file folder with various types of games and modifications. Plan your class in advance, but be flexible if the mood turns to frustration. And if need be, invite an aide or specialist in to give you tips on how to be inclusive with your students with disabilities. The environment is also critical to PE. Make sure the PE space is accessible to all students. Make sure you have some soft spaces. Stay away from gravel, an area that is hard to move around in. And be aware of sound sensitivities. It also is important to consider the equipment you are using for any activity. Consider using floor scooters to help children keep up. Consider mitts and gloves with Velcro to help students keep a hold of them. And introduce a variety of sizes and material makeups when using rackets, bats, or balls for an activity.
Now, as we draw to a close, it's important to remember that these activities that we presented in this video aren't just for PE teachers who use them in the gym. They can be used by teachers in the classroom or out on the playground. Just remember to make the physical education experience fun, safe, and inclusive for all.